The Sphinx is one of those monuments that seem simple until you start asking questions. Because it's not just a statue, it's a piece of landscape turned into propaganda, solar cult, and a symbol of power. And the best part is that the two most famous questions, who carved it, and why is the nose missing, aren't folklore. They're still real topics of study today, at the crossroads of archaeology, geology, and the history of images. Let's start with the setting. We're at Giza, on the Pyramid Plateau, and the Sphinx faces east, towards sunrise. It's massive, about 73 meters long and over 20 meters tall, carved directly into the limestone bedrock of the plateau, then finished, and partly reinforced with blocks. That choice, carving straight from the rock, already sends a message. You're not building a statue, you're revealing a colossal being from the earth itself. Lion's body, human head, the perfect image for a pharaoh saying, "I am cosmic strength and royal intelligence." So who carved it, really? The most accepted answer today is the 4th dynasty, around 2500 BC, within the monumental program linked to Khufu's complex. It's not a signed certainty, there's no inscription that says, "I, Khufu, made the Sphinx." But the archaeological evidence is strong. The Sphinx sits exactly where it dialogues with the temples of Khufu's complex, especially the Valley Temple and the so-called Sphinx Temple. According to ERA, the research team founded and long directed by Mark Lehner, the building sequence and the alignment of the temples make it highly likely that the Sphinx and those temples belong to the same grand plan connected to Khufu. In other words, the Sphinx isn't an isolated object, it's a node inside a coherent architectural project. And here's a movie-level detail: the limestone blocks cut from the excavation around the Sphinx's body, the trench or enclosure, were likely reused to build the Sphinx temple nearby. So the Sphinx, literally, generates the stones for its own temple. It's one of those moments where archaeology and construction logic click perfectly. That said, there are alternative hypotheses, and they're worth mentioning because they're part of the real mystery, not the meme version. Some scholars have suggested the face could represent Khufu, or that the Sphinx may have been started under one pharaoh and finished, or reassigned, by another. ERA itself acknowledges that the Khufu attribution is the strongest, but not a final, notarized certainty. And here's another hot topic: proportions. The head looks small compared to the body. Some propose the head was recarved later, or mid-project, from an earlier form. Others argue the plateau's geology and the limits of available rock explain many oddities, without needing exotic theories. Then there's the argument that drives the internet crazy: erosion. The Sphinx has been heavily eroded, especially the body, and that sparked the famous debate: is it older than we think? The popular version claims massive erosion from ancient rainfall, implying a date far earlier than the Old Kingdom. But in serious mainstream literature, the super-ancient dating is treated as controversial and outside consensus. The standard view remains 4th dynasty, with erosion explained by variable limestone quality, wind, sand, humidity, and human intervention over time. The key point for the video: you don't need to pick a team. You need to show that the Sphinx is a case study where archaeology and geology argue, and that's exactly why it's fascinating. So why is the nose missing? Here's the twist: the most famous answer is almost certainly false. It wasn't Napoleon. The story that French soldiers shot the nose off is a stubborn legend, but there are drawings from before Napoleon's campaign that already show the Sphinx without a nose. Britannica summarizes it clearly: depictions predating Napoleon already show the damage. And it's not just drawings. The face surface shows marks consistent with deliberate action, chisels or levers used to pry stone off, more than a simple, natural collapse. So who did it? This is the zone of plausible, but not courtroom provable. A medieval tradition, reported by the Egyptian historian Al-Makrizi, attributes the nose's destruction to a 14th century iconoclast, Mohammed Saim al-Dar, outraged by popular rituals and offerings people made to the Sphinx. Smithsonian discusses this trail too, not as absolute certainty, but as a historically credible and widely debated explanation. And it's a powerful story because it flips the cliché, not a cannon shot, but an ideological act. Mutilation as a strike against a symbol. Add a religious history layer. For centuries, the Sphinx wasn't just an ancient monument. It was a living presence in the mental landscape, seen as guardian, talisman, even a power tied to the Nile cycle and fertility. In the Middle Ages, names and legends circulated, and that helps explain why someone might label it dangerous or idolatrous. La Sphinx non è sempre stata così, the Sphinx hasn't always looked like this. Another wild piece of the story, for long periods, the Sphinx was almost swallowed by sand. That romantic image, the head emerging from the desert, is real. The sand buried and revealed the body again and again. In the New Kingdom, Pharaoh Thutmose IV set up the famous dream stela between the paws. The story says the young prince fell asleep near the Sphinx and received a promise of kingship if he freed it from the sand. It's royal propaganda, yes, but it tells us the Sphinx already needed to be rescued from the desert back then. And then there's restoration, almost a thriller on its own. Every modern intervention can save it or ruin it. Over time, blocks were added, surfaces consolidated, sometimes with questionable methods. Hawass, in work on conservation and restorations, describes how the Sphinx has been repaired and it's stitched multiple times, from antiquity to contemporary restorations, because the body's limestone is fragile and degrades easily. So when you ask, why is it so damaged, the real answer is, because it's a giant made of a material that hates wind, sand, humidity, and salt, and because humans have been touching it for centuries. The latest discoveries, and what's changing right now. In recent years, the big change isn't we found an inscription that solves everything, but how the site is studied, drones, photogrammetry, laser scanning, ultra-high-resolution 3D models, and ground-penetrating radar, GPR, to map what's underground without digging. ERA, for example, describes recent projects documenting the Sphinx area with modern surveys, GPR, and even full 3D captures. In parallel, the Giza Plateau increasingly uses integrated geophysical methods, GPR plus tomography, to detect anomalies and buried structures in areas like the Western cemeteries, not alien secrets, but non-invasive archaeology that often guides excavation or conservation. And here's a hot topic from recent months and years: viral claims about alleged underground cities beneath Giza. Some of these claims have been strongly challenged by experts, because they rely on unverified interpretations and aren't published in a robust way. If you want a meta moment in the video, this is perfect. The Sphinx still generates myths today, only now, instead of medieval legends, we get miracle radars, flashy renders, and sensational headlines. So, who carved it? With very high probability, a 4th dynasty pharaoh within the Grand Giza program, most likely Khafre, even if debate about the face and construction sequence isn't 100% closed. Why is the nose missing? Almost certainly because of deliberate human action, and the Napoleon story is exactly that, a myth. But here's the most powerful truth: the Sphinx isn't a motionless riddle. It's a battlefield between nature and history, between cult and iconoclasm, between conservation and propaganda. And every generation rewrites it, because, in the end, we always see something of ourselves in it.